Basketball purists love a system in motion. The ideal is 5 players spaced around the perimeter, the ball whipping from sideline to sideline, constantly searching for the perfect shot. Under head coach Steve Kerr, the Golden State Warriors built a modern dynasty on this exact philosophy. They treated the basketball like a hot potato. Coaches preach this motion system for highly practical reasons. Constant passing forces the defense to scramble. It generates high-value corner threes, and it keeps role players actively engaged on both ends of the floor. Over time, this conventional wisdom became entrenched. Unselfish, team-oriented passing is the mathematically correct way to play basketball. But in the 2018 to 2019 season, the Houston Rockets and their head coach Mike D'Antoni explicitly rejected that orthodoxy. The Rockets essentially stopped passing altogether. Instead, they actively halted ball movement, forced the opposing team into a specific matchup, and let James Harden dribble in place to attack a single, isolated defender. When the tracking data came in, the results broke the existing models. This static, highly isolated offense generated 1.12 points per possession, the highest single-season team efficiency in recorded synergy tracking history. The most stubborn, aesthetically ugly style of play somehow produced more points than the beautiful passing game. To understand why the Rockets' strategy worked, we need to look at a metric developed at MIT Sloan called expected possession value, or EPV. This diagram shows the core idea behind EPV. As the ball is passed around the court between different players, the floating counter updates in real time, calculating the exact fraction of a point a team is mathematically likely to score on that specific action. The model revealed that a defender's specific identity is the most important variable in shot quality, frequently mattering more than distance to the hoop. This was first formalized in 2013 as the Dwight Effect. The spatial data showed that swapping an elite defensive anchor like Dwight Howard for a bottom-tier defender on a single attempt causes a massive 10% swing in shooting percentage. These findings suggest that elite efficiency comes from identification, specifically isolating and attacking the opponent's weakest link. Economists call this problem allocative efficiency, the exact mathematical balancing act of deciding who should take the shot to maximize the return. Look at this chart comparing the two strategies. A highly successful motion offense might generate a solid, league-average 1.08 points per possession. But when an elite star isolates and attacks a targeted mismatch, that single action yields upwards of 1.20 points. If a player creates that 1.20 point mismatch, but passes the ball away just to keep the offensive system moving, the math immediately drops back toward the 1.08 average. By rigidly adhering to the passing system and deliberately ignoring the weakest defender, a team voluntarily destroys mathematical value on that play. For basketball purists, it is an uncomfortable truth. Enforcing a passing system over a clear statistical mismatch mathematically guarantees leaving points on the board. That naturally raises a question. If isolating a single defender is so profitable, why don't teams run it on every single possession from tip-off? Because basketball is a dynamic, simultaneous game. The offense chooses a strategy, but the defense adapts in real time to reach what game theorists call a Nash equilibrium. This matrix shows exactly what happens when teams commit strictly to one strategy. If an offense runs pure isolation repeatedly, the defense solves the equation. They abandon standard coverage and start sending aggressive double teams or dropping into zones. When the game enters this quadrant, the isolation math collapses. Houston's historically efficient offense routinely stalled out in the playoffs against elite switching teams because their opponents knew exactly what was coming. Committing completely to one extreme ideology, whether that means passing the ball without exception or isolating blindly, is inherently unstable. A smart opponent will eventually recognize the pattern and counter it. The true mathematical solution is a mixed strategy. A perfectly optimized team uses both system motion and targeted isolation to constantly scramble the defensive payoff matrix. We see this exact balance in modern tracking data. Across an 82-game regular season, teams lean heavily on motion passing to conserve energy and maintain a reliable baseline of offensive production. But this chart reveals how the math changes when the regular season ends. During the playoffs, the game slows down and defensive schemes tighten. In response, teams drastically alter their play calling, and isolation frequency spikes, jumping to as high as 15% of all possessions.
The superstars who push their teams deep into May and June are the ones equipped to hunt those specific mismatches at a very high volume. The beautiful passing game builds a solid foundation for the regular season, but when the margins tighten and the defensive math adapts, championship runs require a very calculated dose of selfishness.